What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sus Coaching Podcast.
I'm Jake.
I'm Nicole.
And today we're going to talk all about recovery nutrition, and recovery tools.
To take your recovery to the max.
The max. So today we'll talk about some rollers, some percussion massagers, float tanks, protein, post-workout drinks, foam rollers.
So you can get all the gains that you need.
So stick with us as we talk through everything about recovery.
Recovery. Well, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
How's your workout?
It was good. 18 miles, felt pretty easy.
Oh, that's not something to hear every day.
Not too bad for 92 miles into a 104-mile week.
At altitude. Yeah, I'd say that was pretty good.
Yeah, how was your workout?
Not bad. Had a Vasa machine workout, so similar to a swim for like an hour and a half. And then a heavy lift day and 4-mile run. So capped out the day pretty nicely. Had a really relaxing Saturday, if you can call it that.
So, Nicole, what are we here to talk about today?
Recovery stuff. It's the most disputed thing among athletes. No, I don't know. It's probably not. But we're here to talk about it because we have a lot of experience in it. Many tools.
Far too many tools, too many dollars sunk into too many tools. But it means that we have all of them. So if you're looking for one, then we've probably got it.
Yeah. So we can start with kind of recovery in general and what that means for us athletes and how important it is in the scheme of things. And I know we briefly touched on this in one of our past episodes about kind of the proven recovery tools. And honestly, it sounds like it doesn't really matter what science says sometimes about recovery. If it feels good to you and if it's helping you feel better for your next workout, then might as well try it.
Yeah, well, let's start with why recovery in the first place. And I think that brings us back to the growth equation, which is stress plus rest equals growth. So your common sense idea on that one is you might be really fit after, like, let's say you do a 20-mile long run, and the next day you do hard 1K repeats, and then the next day you do a 45,000-yard time trial in the water. Well, you might be really fit, but you're also going to be really tired, and if on the fourth day I ask you to go for a race, it's not going to be good. So you need to rest, and your body actually improves. So when you do a workout, you kind of embarrass your body, make it say, oh crap, I need to improve and get better. And then it gets better in the recovery time. So
even if you're not doing the slew of things that Jake just put out there, maybe you're an athlete coming back from like a down couple of months. Maybe COVID took away a couple of your races and you haven't been racing, but now's a good time to start getting back into things with the hope that 2021 will bring a couple more races. And maybe your 4-mile run, your 2-mile run, your walk, your whatever it is, made you really sore and you need some better recovery tools just to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, and so we talked in episode number 2, so the most important thing that you can possibly do for recovery is what?
Sleep, of course.
Thank you.
I thought that was a trick question.
Yes, absolutely. Number 1 is sleep. And then the number 2 most important thing that you can do for your recovery is?
I'm drinking. Nutrition.
Yes. Because, again, even if you are, we've got the percussion massagers and foam rollers and stuff that we're going to talk about today, but you can foam roll as much as you want to, but if you get 2 hours of sleep a night and if you're under-fueling yourself, then you're not going to recover.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of our tools, we have kind of I don't know what kind of word we want to use for this, but we have a very big timeline of tools from the last couple of years that have stuck with us through our move, who've, kind of been with us since the beginning. So we have a wide variety of things that people probably already have in their house, including what we have on the table here, some of our big foam rollers in all sorts of sizes and shapes. And we kind of actively evolved through a whole bunch of different recovery tools as we realized what was on the market, what helped our muscles, what helped our, psychology going into the next day, and overall our performance.
And it doesn't really help that Nicole and I like different kinds of like the self-torture tools. when I use any of these rollers and recovery tools, I want it to hurt. I want it to hurt good. And when I massage Nicole or when I use one of the percussion massagers on Nicole, she's like, can I pay you to touch me less?
That is a quote from our good friend Aaron. Can I pay you to touch me less? But like, honestly, let's look at this. This is a normal foam roller that looks nice. It's cushy in all the right places. And then look at this one.
And this is my rumble roller, which I got an extra firm, but it's kind of gotten a little less firm over the years. It's one of our first rollers. So we just recently got this one, which is, if you think of like a PVC pipe with like hard rubber on the outside that's poking you and stabbing you, this is what that is.
Yeah, that's gross. That's not my style. And of course, Jake and I can talk about both of our styles, because I'm sure we're going to have readers and listeners on both ends of the spectrum who like the soft, can I get a gentle massage just to kind of move the blood flow? And others who are like, can you use a hammer? Can you use some nails? Like, I really need you to get in there.
So, Nicole, I think we already mentioned that the second most important thing you can do besides sleep is nutrition. Mm-hmm. And I see we've got some protein here on the table. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so protein is all the rage, right? Like, everybody thinks that protein is the only way to recover. And obviously we know that that's not true. On top of, and we can cover this in different sessions, but on top of taking care of your body with nutrition during workouts, especially if you're a long distance athlete in any capacity, taking care of your body with nutrition during the workout is extremely important, because the last thing that you want is to end your workout and go into the next day with extreme depletion. So think about a 50-mile bike. You ride 50 miles, maybe that takes you 3 hours, but you didn't have a sip of water or nutrition on that bike. You're going to get off that bike and you're going to feel really awful, especially if you're in different climates.
And so I think a lot of the guidelines say you don't need any during workout nutrition unless you are going longer than, a lot of them say 90 minutes, some say 60 minutes, and the water depends a little bit. That's a topic for a different day. But so sure, granted, in most studies where we're researching the performance effects of calories during a workout, sure, like you can go 90 minutes without having any kind of deleterious performance effect. But we work with triathletes and runners who are doing 2 or 3 workouts a day. Nicole, today you did a Vasa swim, a lift, and a run. Well, your Vasa was 90 minutes, right on the cusp. Your lift was real short, and your run was 45 minutes. So does that mean that Nicole shouldn't have taken calories in on any of her workouts? I disagree. I think it's really important for even shorter workouts, if you're doing very high volume, that basically you're missing an hour and a half of time that you can feed yourself if you're not feeding during those times. Because the quantity of calories you need to get in during the day is massive for a lot of the workloads that we see athletes doing. And if you're missing out on 90 minutes in the morning and then another 45 minutes in the afternoon, then that's 2.25 hours that you aren't eating anything, and you need to fill yourself and get those calories in.
Well, if you think about how long we were up here today in our workout room today, we started around 11, 12-ish, and we were in here until 4 or 5. Not eating, I mean, with the exception of the stuff that we had during our workouts. But if you think about it, we weren't sitting down during any of that time to eat any food. So it's important during that 4-hour gap, even if you are doing 90 minutes, okay, but what's the harm in putting a little calories in you for the next 2 workouts that you have? Because you're not going to be able to sit down and have, your lunch or your dinner or what have you. And granted, Jake and I both had dinner after our workouts. But we also noticed that after our dinner, we immediately go for like a second dinner and a third dinner and some dessert and maybe a second dessert, because this is kind of our routine of the day. We finish our workouts in the late afternoon, and then we have to backfill calories. It's especially hard as plant-based athletes because our meals are typically less calorie dense than other people's. But to make it easy on you and to enhance your recovery, I'd say for number one, other than sleep and just general nutrition, is to be taking in some calories and hydration while you're working out, no matter the climate. And unless it's, a 1-mile run, maybe consider putting some calories in there.
Yeah, and double that if you are doubling workouts. If you're doing 1 4-mile run in the morning, that you can probably get away without calories. But if you're doing a 4-mile run in the morning and then a 90-minute swim after work, well, that's when you really need to start thinking, can I get some extra calories in here? So Nicole, do you want to talk a little bit about what about right after a workout?
There's a lot of supplements out there right now that put a lot of protein into an after shake content or an after smoothie content. The best by far that Jake and I have experimented with over the years is Tailwind. They do a Rebuild is the brand name. It's a recovery formula that puts both carbohydrates and proteins together in an easy on your stomach, simple to use shake, very light for after your workouts. If you're not interested in buying any sort of shake, totally understandable. The best way you can refuel yourself and build on the workout that you just did is to get, I'd say, between 20 and 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes after exercise. So jumping off the treadmill, getting right back home from your run, what have you, get some sort of protein in. Ideally, that'd be paired with carbs. And when you're using whole foods, it's a little bit harder than a shake that kind of has it already combined. But you're looking for, 20 to 30. So maybe that's a oat milk-based yogurt that has a high protein content with some carbohydrates on the side. So maybe you add in some granola, or maybe you add some blueberries with a little bit of maple syrup. It's just tacking on some more carbohydrates as an immediate snack within 30 minutes after you finish your workout.
Yeah, and that 30-minute window is the scientifically proven window for maximal glycogen uptake, because that's a lot of what you're trying to do with those carbohydrates is you're trying to replenish your glycogen stores, your body's way of storing carbohydrate, which is one of the first things that it burns during exercise, particularly high intensity exercise. So anything that's long or high intense, particularly, you really want to get those calories in. And I do have to, so quick caveat, we are Tailwind Trailblazers, so we do have a little bit of a sponsorship from Tailwind, but it's something that we sought out because we were using the product first. The company is absolutely spectacular. They are a local Colorado-based company, so can't speak highly enough there.
Yeah, and again, any of you who have GI distress or have trouble eating after your workouts, I know I was one of those for quite a while. Super light. You can kind of sip it over the course of a couple of minutes. It's really refreshing, especially if you pair it with ice cold water. You're working out in the summer. Can't say enough for kind of the lightness. And we've experimented with a lot of different recovery tools as far as the nutrition side, and this just comes out to be the best.
Yeah, and really, it's just especially I find for workouts where you're not at home. You know, right now we're in our pain cave, so we've got swim, bike, run, and weights all in the same place, and our kitchen is 20 feet downstairs. Well, when you're at the track for a track session, or if you're going to do a workout, then go straight into work, then having something just pre-mixed, pre-made is really, really important. Be that Tailwind or anything that you choose, having a snack immediately after your workout is really, really beneficial.
So other than, the scientific, this is backed up by science that helps you take up glycogen right after your workout. The physical aspect of it, what you'll notice right away from taking in calories, carbohydrates, and proteins right after your workout is you're not going to feel sluggish. You're not going to finish your 16 by 400 on the track, walk away, not eat anything until breakfast an hour later, and just be dragging through that hour. What it does is it kind of gives your body like a kickstart into recovery. And ideally, that's what we're looking for, especially if you're an athlete that's doing 2 to 3 workouts a day. Heck, even if you're doing a 4-mile run in the morning and then you go into work, but your work hour is going to be 15 hours. This is the thing that gets you kick-started and moving into that day.
Yeah, and I can 110% remember, it's a little fuzzy, like Sundays after my long run when it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I finished morning, late or like early afternoon, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what day my hour of the clock is on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've all been there too. We've all had the, oh man, no food's available. I just have to make it home to eat something. And then we just gradually feel the decline of mental clarity and sharpness just dissipate because our body has used so much during the workout and it's going to continue to use afterwards to repair what you just did to your body.
Yeah. And also, something else that you can do, what I really like, especially in the summer, especially when we were living in Arizona and it was like 800 degrees at 4 a.m. before the sun came up. When you finish your run, if you're not going to do something like a tailwind, or maybe after you do your tailwind, my favorite smoothie recipe, I'll share that here and I'll put the comment in the description as well. but favorite smoothie recipe. I think I found this on Runner's World like years ago. Take a frozen banana. Yes, it has to be frozen. It helps the consistency. Take some frozen blueberries, some oat milk, a couple of oats, and then put a scoop of protein on top. And oh yes, that is spectacular.
Yeah, I've gotten worn out on those over the past couple of years. So my favorite, and not as well-rounded, but I like this after hot runs. We're kind of getting off topic, but is a frozen watermelon. Just literally blended, put in the your Ninja blender or whatever, blended, and then a sparkling water. I like the coconut flavored sparkling water. I think it's by Waterloo that we typically use. And after you're done blending, just pop it in the smoothie, and you get this really nice, like refreshing, cool off kind of smoothie.
Yeah. All right, let's do a quick note on protein. What does it do for you? And then I'll share our protein. All right, so let's talk a little bit about protein. Aside from making you big like Arnold, okay, just kidding, it really won't. I mean, aside from my massive biceps.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, yeah.
Getting out of control.
No, so protein, when you do hard workouts, particularly strength or anything high intensity, then your muscle fibers are breaking down a little bit. And then you get a super compensation effect. That's what you're trying to do. When you do a workout, you break your body down a little bit. It says, ooh, okay, I need to repair and actually get stronger so that the next time I'm not going to break down. That's what you're going for. And the protein is what helps you do that in your muscle resynthesis. And then I'll just do a quick note on the protein that we like. I know we showed it before, but we found that this less naked protein is a really good pea protein. A lot of pea proteins, unfortunately, can wind up with trace heavy metals. We did quite a bit of research on pea proteins that were low in heavy metal content, and there's 3 ingredients in that. It's coconut sugar, pea protein, and vanilla bean. So it's super simple, super good for you, and it's very convenient.
And for those of you out there wondering, is this a complete protein? Yes, it is. You're looking at all your amino acids that you need before you mix together your shake. Jake's giving me that look because quite often when we're asked about our plant-based diet, we're asked, where do you get your protein? Are you sure you're getting the right amount of protein and blah, 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 and all this stuff? Yes, we do. Don't worry about that. But more specifically, this naked protein, pea protein is. Why are you smiling at me like that?
Oh, down girl.
This protein has everything you need. You don't have to worry about, oh man, well, I need my whey to actually build muscle. No, actually, you don't.
No way.
Oh my God. Okay, we're done. All right, so now we've talked about protein after our workouts. Let's get into some of our ancient tools. Then we'll advance into our more recent tools. But my favorite for post-swimming, and this is mainly because I deal with a lot of neck and shoulder soreness after my workouts in the pool, I like this trigger point, 30-something inch roller. And maybe you have more specific dimensions on it. But this is a kind of a medium soft roller that I like to just put a pillow behind my head, line my spine up on it, and just open up my chest because I do a lot of freestyle.
If we're being fair, I'm pretty sure that I bought the Firm and just didn't tell you.
All right. Well, it's softer than your other torture tools. So this is my favorite for after swimming. I do the cactus arms to really open up. I move up and down to get into my scapulars. So really great tool for whole body. You can lay on it for hip flexors, for pretty much everything. I don't think there's a single thing that you can't get with something like this. And these are really common nowadays, which is awesome. Because if you don't have someone at home to massage you or to help you out, this is the number one tool. And then Jake has his awful rollers that I'll let him.
Yeah, so I showed the Rumble roller before. This is a similar concept. Basically, it just has little knobbly groove things to really dig into your muscles and give you that extra little bite of pain that is my favorite. But no, so the theory on the why do you roll, it's not, a lot of the science doesn't show, like it's not going to reduce IL-6 or other markers of inflammation. Really what I find is I like to roll because it helps me with my injury prevention. And, if I've got super duper tight calves or quads, then getting on the foam roller is definitely helpful because what you can do is it helps loosen those things up. Dr. Kelly Starrett, in his book, How to Be a Supple Leopard, he really talks about being active on the roller. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I can give anyone for rolling, particularly beginner rollers, is you don't just want to lie there and take it. You want to be active with the roller. So if you put the roller underneath your quad, then you want to activate your quad into the roller and then relax it. And that kind of activation, I think he calls it flossing. It really helps kind of loosen things up. You get a little extra activation and then relax into it, and you can get a deeper stretch that way. So this is our knobbly roller. I actually got that fairly recently because I was out traveling and did not bring a roller with me for a long trip. Thought it'd be fine, but nope, I really do enjoy that roller. And then another roller we have, so we are not sponsored. I wish we were because it would save us a ton of money, but this is a Hyper Ice Viper 2 roller. It vibrates. So that's the cool thing. I'll give you a little demo, and we plan to be, you should have already seen quite a few of them, but we plan to do kind of video overs here. But here's the roller. 3 settings. And what that really lets you do, in my favorite, so 2 things. One is the vibrations are supposed to like trick your Golgi tendon system into like not feeling the pain. No, I promise you it still hurts when you're on the vibrating roller, but it seems like, at least for me, it lets me sink kind of deeper into some of the stretches that I'm doing. And the work on the roller is a little bit less painful. And if I finish a hard workout and I hop on the vibrating roller, then it winds up just kind of, it's like you shake out if you've ever been to the chiropractor and they just kind of do like the vibrator on you to loosen up first, then it really helps just kind of shake everything out and feel a little bit fresher afterwards.
So I like this one a little less. I'm on team don't torture my body after I've already done a torturous workout. So I like this one a little less, not because of the vibrations, but because it is very hard. It's much, much harder than the standard, like the 32-inch roller that I showed earlier. And even the rumble rollers, I think it has a harder consistency. So as far as lying on it and kind of enjoying that relaxing blood flow coming back to your muscles, it's more of a, it's like lying on a rock, basically. So for those of you who like that, awesome. But I let Jake use this one.
Yeah, and so we also, my parents also got like a kind of a cheap knockoff Chinese brand, like roller dealio that also vibrates, and mediocre, super like not worth your money. Yes, the Hyperice products are pretty expensive. I will absolutely grant you that, but the power of the vibrations, I was lucky I was able to try some at the physical therapist's office and then just kept going back. And yeah, it's worth the money. The vibrations in other rollers are just not up to snuff when it comes to the comparison with the Hyperice. And I think we have a similar one from Trigger Point. So we love the Trigger Point rollers.
Ooh, I like this one. This one's mine to talk about.
Okay. I was just going to talk bad about it because I don't like how weakly the vibrations are.
Oh my gosh. Okay, give me that. I'm going to hype this one up.
It's not painful enough for me.
So this is also a Trigger Point. I love this one because my calves suffer when you make me do hill workouts or when you make me do sprints. They get really tight, and if I don't have you around to massage them for me, I use this thing. Your calf fits really nicely inside. It does vibrate, maybe not as much as you like your vibrating tools, but it's really great because it has these foundations on the side that allow you to roll up and down. So it's super easy to get your whole calf. It has 3 settings, I believe. Yep, 3 settings for vibration, and super, super kind of supple and soft on top. So yeah, Jake's making a face because he likes his spiky rumble rollers. So this is one of my favorites. I haven't used it recently. I think my calves are getting stronger, but I would definitely give this one a try. This was on the kind of mid-price range. I don't remember how much we paid for it, but it was one of the last ones. I'm actually not even really sure they make these anymore. We'd have to do some research, but definitely recommend this one for any of you who have Achilles, calf, upper calf, soleus issues. Use this one, please.
All right, so let's continue the lower body theme, and we'll hit the feet.
I like that one too. Okay, so I have my soleus, arches, Achilles, and calves are usually my first things to get sore during running, biking, etc. This is my I'm sitting at a desk all day. My feet need some love because I did a track workout this morning and I've been sitting since then. This is the thing I whip out. Again, another trigger point. I'm not sure what the version is called, but it's like a plantar fasciitis kind of tool. Again, it has these two foundations that lets you roll, so you can literally sit down at your desk and just roll it up and down your feet. You can sit at your desk and apply small amounts of pressure to it if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis or any sort of calf pain. This is definitely one of my top of the line tools. I usually keep this in my office when it's not COVID conditions and I'm not at home all the time.
All right, so next, let's talk about more on the calf.
So I'm going to be the calf expert here. I also take this to work. This is a slant board. A lot of physical therapy places have these to stretch out the calves and work kind of the back line of your body. But all it is a slant board that you can adjust its height and its degree of angle. And then you put your heels in these kind of cushions down here. And I'd recommend standing for this one, but you can put your foot on it and lean into the stretch, and you get this amazing calf stretch that's not like, putting your heels off of a curb and trying to get a stretch that way. This is a lot different because you get this full surface area. One of my favorites, I'll use this at my desk too, with my standing desk, just to kind of get that full back of body stretch going on.
Yeah, I think we both, it's rare to see that in our house because we both usually keep it at our office where we've got standing desks there. This
is a Strong Tech. I think it was just an Amazon search.
Yep, that was probably some things like the Hyperice products, we really like the obnoxiously expensive but totally worth the money for it. But that one is definitely a hard piece of plastic, so the cheapest we could find.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk on the next one, actually the next two. This is a small torture ball. Actually, I think this is a middle-sized torture ball. Technically, the smallest, cheapest would be a lacrosse ball, which is awesome. We have some here somewhere, or maybe they're in my backpack that I've taken to work as well. But those are really awesome for getting into some sore muscles, but sometimes for some of the smaller muscles, or the deeper muscles, you just can't get enough pressure. At least I can't. If you're like me and you really want to make it hurt, then you need something that can give you a little bit more pressure. And that's where this comes into play. I got this one probably 5 years ago when I was having some really bad piriformis pain. And you just can't get into your piriformis on a roller all that well. Maybe if you've got a really knobbly one, but I just can't find mine quite as nicely as I can with a ball. So getting in with the ball is really helpful. I find similarly with the hips, sometimes the rollers just spread out the pressure too much and they just don't hurt enough. So it's supposed to hurt.
This is why you're a marathon runner.
That's how you know it works.
Not exactly true, but okay.
But no, kind of a large size ball. This one is super light, so this is definitely a go-to for traveling because most things you can get with a roller, you can also get with a ball. You don't get as much at the same time, but the ball is super helpful and it's a lot smaller, really convenient for traveling. So definitely like this one. And then if you can make it small and light and cheap, then Hyperice can make it expensive and vibrate. So similar, 3 settings. And this one is rock hard. Like it's hard plastic with little rubber bits just so that it sticks to the floor and doesn't like roll all over the place. But if Nicole thinks that the Hyperice vibrating roller is hard and firm, then that thing's probably way out of her league. But the vibrating ball is similar. If you have like piriformis pain or hip tightness, then that's an absolute go-to. I also find that it can really get into your hamstrings a little bit better than the regular rollers. So that's definitely a go-to for me on those.
I agree about the hamstrings. I've definitely used the vibrating ball for hamstrings versus like one of the plain rollers that just, 'cause it needs to get in the hamstring versus like spread across the hamstring. It's just preference,
agreed.
I think.
Though I must say that a con to all of the vibrating rollers and balls is when you're traveling, if you do elect to take them, and we've traveled with all of these because we're excessive. And I mean, she's a triathlete, so that means like bike and bike bag, and like we're bringing a lot of stuff anyway, so might as well bring the rollers. Anyway, if you're on the second or higher floor of a hotel, then it depends on the construction of the hotel, but I do often feel reticent, like knocking things off of the wall of the place below me. But
all right, so we have one or two more. Probably, oh yes, I will talk about this one. So we recently invested after finding amazing chiropractors up here in Colorado. We recently invested in a TENS unit, which has been around for ages. And it's not a new technology, but I love this during my menstrual cycle when I'm cramping really bad. It helps a ton, but other than that, recovery for like my neck after swims. If you don't know what a TENS unit is, I don't know where you've been, but they're these little pads, these sticky pads that you place on muscle groups of your body. I typically use 2-ish, depending on where on my body I need some electric stimulation, if you put it that way. These attach to cables, and the cables attach to the TENS unit itself. And all it is just this low stimulus kind of electrical current. It activates your muscles, and these are often found in physical therapies as well. They call them STEM. They call them, oh gosh, what was the other one when we both went to something like that. It's pretty much the same technology. It's just you can have it at home, and it doesn't cost you $1 million. I think this one was like 20 or 30 bucks. Yeah. So super easy to kind of get a grab on your muscles. You can control it. Again, you're in control to have a really low grade stimulus. You just feel kind of the tiny pinpricks in your muscles. Or you can go all out and have that real big grab of your muscles where your muscles are actually contracting and releasing. Ultimately, I think the idea for this is blood flow. You're getting the stimulus of the muscle contracting and releasing is a lot of blood flow back into the muscle. It feels good to me. Again, it's probably preference. I like the really low grade stuff that you just kind of barely feel. You're not really getting any huge grab on your muscles. You're just getting this like nice low stimulus, and it takes your mind away from the soreness in your muscles that you might have.
Yeah, and I had quite a bit of STEM done. The last marathon I got to race was New York City in 2019, and as much as it hurts me to say that was my last marathon race, but the right before that, like the week before the race on like a Tuesday, I was out running, just doing my 6 mile easy jog, and something twinged in my low back. It was like it was not good. It felt very not good immediately, and I limped, literally like walked limp the whole way home. My back was super tight. I've never had anything like that before, but it was like just my muscles would not relax. And I had quite a bit of some STEM done at PT offices, and then a little bit of dry needling as well, which let me talk on real quick. Nicole doesn't like needles, so we're just going to leave her out of this, and Nicole try not to pass out on me here. But so dry needling, if you've never had it done, it's a very small needle, and you have to get it done by a dry needling certified type person. I'm sure there's a real certification that I don't know about, but our chiropractor up here does it. I've had it done by a few physical therapists. They stick a little needle in your muscle, and they aim for and hit trigger points. And when that happens, then your muscles just release. It's magical. It's like when you're sitting on a roller and you're trying to release a trigger point for like 5 minutes, you could just have someone go stick a needle in it and bam, it's good. Like that's what we're talking about here. It's spectacular. And between the dry needling and stim through the dry needles and the rollers and everything, like I was able to, in like 4 days, go from not being able to walk to racing New York. It wasn't my best race, but it was better than walking it. So.
And for those of you who don't like needles, I'm sure there's a lot of you, neuromuscular therapists or anybody who can give you a massage or release those trigger points on their own. I prefer that way. We both see the same guy. He's both a neuromuscular therapist and qualified to use the pokey needles, dry needles. Ugh, can't even say the words. He does a really good job on both needles for Jake, but he does the same thing for me just by manual pressure. So yes, it might take longer, but it's ultimately kind of like one of the deep tissue massages that everybody begs for and then cries afterwards. And we can talk a bit on massaging too, which has been a big conversation in the last few years that, get massages weekly, it helps you out. There's actually not a lot of science that shows that massages actually repair your muscles, make you feel better.
And it's worth commenting that science of recovery is very difficult.
True.
Doing a good study, doing a controlled study. I mean, what is your placebo massage? It's very hard to trick someone that they've been massaged without massaging them. So that's quite difficult. And then just looking for, what are you looking for? Are you looking for, a lot of people look at IL-6 or cytokines, other markers of inflammation, but does a massage really help with inflammation, or is it helping to release a trigger point that might be causing a gait imbalance that might cause an injury down the line? Like the science is, there's some there, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. And Jake and I have nothing against massages. In fact, we really encourage them because it's very psychologically relieving for us to go get a massage, especially if we're dealing with a tight point or we've had neck pain for the last 3 weeks or what have you. But I really encourage the massaging for the psychological aspect. I like that at the end of a hard week. It gets me moving back into the next week with harder workouts, with a better mindset. So maybe just a thought if you're into massages or if you're into any sort of deep tissue stuff or acupuncture, all those things kind of fall in the same category.
Nicole really likes the psychological, relaxing massages. I really want the massage therapist to dig their elbows.
Wow, surprise.
Okay, so for our last torture device, there's been quite a lot of media hype. People really like the percussion massagers. The Theragun and the Hypervolts are some of the big name brands, but everything from literally putting a little massager thing on a jigsaw to knockoff brands. Trigger Point makes one now. Well, the percussion massagers are pretty legit, and to the point that Nicole and I actually bought his and hers percussion massagers because when I was traveling, she could not live without it.
So they're really nice. Luckily, I'm not sure how it is for other companies, but luckily with Hyper Ices, they come with a whole bunch of different tips. So you have the flat tip, you have the round one like Jake has on his right now, and then you also have a really pokey one. I really just like to use the round one. It's soft, it helps. This one is too aggressive for me.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I like this one. Has 3 settings. Jake has the fancier one.
Yeah, I have the Hypervolt Plus because it's supposed to be 30% more aggressive.
Wow, another surprise. But these are, pretty much everyone has seen them. They typical percussion.
Yeah, and we'll work to get in one of the sexy slow motion vibrating videos.
So much. You're adding too much to this video.
You're welcome.
But these are nice because you can pretty much use them everywhere. Your forearms are sore, put them on your forearms. Your neck is sore, be careful, put it on your neck. You can even by yourself get into your back by reaching. The only thing I can't really get too well is mid-back by myself. But this gets everywhere. So if you're struggling with a roller, even if it's a vibrating one, to get in certain areas, this is a really concentrated tip that you can get in places that are just being a pain.
Yeah, and I really like it for a good warm-up. We've done, if I'm feeling sore or tight from a workout the previous day, I'll just do a quick warm-up on my calves, hamstrings, quads, and then maybe a little bit on my shoulders and neck and back if needed. But, just doing a few quick strokes upwards, and, maybe we can put together a video later on describing kind of a warm-up and cool-down routine. But the Hyper Volts, so that's what we have is the Hyper Ice Hyper Volts. And I've seen and held a Theragun. they're almost double the price. I think they've come down now. Both Hyperice and Theragun have like portable versions, but the Hyper Volts that we have are spectacular. Like we really love them. Nicole likes it on the first setting, the lowest intensity. I generally like it on the second intensity, which is surprising because normally I like things the most aggressive they can go. But for smaller muscle groups, definitely the second setting. For larger ones like my quads or hamstrings, and yeah, definitely ramp it up a little bit. But yeah, they're just awesome tools. And for travel, it's hard to beat these. Aside from you have to be a little bit careful for like whipping one out in the airport if you're transitioning flights. Been there, done that.
Yeah, we consistently, every time you travel with me and you have this in your carry-on bag, they consistently stop you and ask, what is this? What is this? Most people don't really know, especially if they're not athletes. But you always go, yeah, it's this massage, and you're careful not to say gun. This massage thing, it works like this, and they always have to like strip it and test it and stuff. And
I have gotten everything at the airport from, sir, what is this? Backup, I need backup. To, oh, is that Theragun? So yeah, but yeah, it's no problem. You do actually, it's a lithium-ion battery, so you have to take at least the battery in your carry-on. But we've had no problems. You might have seen us at some point in the Dallas airport, like hypervolting Nicole's neck because it was sore. And again, for the travel, if you're staying at a hotel or an Airbnb on the second plus floor, then you're not shaking the whole earth below you. Because, I always say when I bring the vibrating roller, like, yeah, I'm going to use it. I'm not going to like worry about it, but I always worry about it. And I don't use it, and that's not great. But yeah, it's hard to beat these for travel as well.
So the one thing that you can't take traveling with you, unless you want to go visit a company for it, is float tanks. We mentioned this in one of the past episodes, and it is in the small amount of research that's been done on the science of recovery in sport, is one of the two things that actually helps you recover, period. Muscles, emotional, psychological, gets you ready for a race. It's a float tank. A lot of people haven't heard of this yet. It's still kind of an up-and-coming tool.
Yeah.
A lot of people use it for meditation, for getting in a mental space. Us athletes can really exploit this. So as athletes, we can really exploit the float tank. If you haven't heard of float tank, you might have heard of sensory deprivation tank. And they're really popping up in major cities right now. And the cool thing about it is everywhere where I've been for a float tank has been different. You're either in a small room, kind of like a shower caddy type thing that your whole body fits in, or you're in a tank, or you're in a pod. If you Google image search any of these, you're going to get a whole wide variety of options for your float. But ultimately, you get the same thing. You go in about 8 to 10 inches of water, filled with about 800 pounds of Epsom salt or upwards, which is extremely sanitary. They've done a lot of research on that you're walking into a sanitary tank, usually cleaned by a UV light filter. It either has a door to close or a top to close or some sort of light blocking door to keep all light out. And if you're uncomfortable with that, a lot of shops now have little lights installed in the water. So if you want, you can keep the lights on. And then you get an hour, maybe 2 hours of floating. You lie on your back, you float. All that salt in the water keeps you completely up and out of the,
Yeah. Yeah, even for me, even in a swimming pool, my legs will sink. But even in the ocean, I can't float. But in this thing, it's like you're floating in the Dead Sea, but saltier.
Yeah, and it keeps your face out of the water, so you don't have to worry about, if you close your eyes, you don't have to worry about drowning. There have been 0 incidents of people drowning in float tanks. The water, you can either put earplugs in or the water covers your ears and you get complete silence. And you just get to float. Luckily, the water temperature is about the same as your body temperature, so you actually can't tell where the water starts and stops, which gives you the sensation of floating. I've done a lot of floating in the past few years. I've used it before and after races for both mental preparation and physical recovery. So much so that we actually bought one ourselves. We have a finished shed on our property. It's hooked up to electricity, and we were able to use the Zen Float company to get a float tent. It's not really a tank, it's a tent. Works the same way, and it's amazing. And it's a great recovery tool, great meditation tool. Would highly recommend, before you buy your own, highly recommend trying one out, finding your nearest float tank, and just going for 45 minutes or an hour. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I will say that it does take you a couple of times just to kind of get used to it.
Yeah, I think it took me at least three floats before I really got settled into it. But
for me, it's about 2, and I think after the second one, I had Jake in the room with me. For when we're traveling, I usually like to have someone with me, especially if I'm going to be closing my eyes in a tank. And he listened to me snore for my 60-minute session. You just get so relaxed. You can either meditate, you can drift off without worrying of, passing out, or, you've got great filtration or great ventilation, and great flotation, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Just a really, really great recovery tool. And I don't remember what the book said about it, why it counts as one of the proved recovery tools. But if you remember, feel free to jump in.
That's a great question. For again, the book we're referencing is Good to Go by Christy Ashwanden.
Yeah, I think we butchered that.
Yeah, sorry. Link in the description. But yes, that is. I think it was. We didn't really know why exactly it works, the mechanisms, but it worked. I think it was. I don't know if it was time trials or physical recovery indicators like inflammation markers, anything like that, but it makes sense. Like Nicole said, you get the dual-hatted of the psychological space. You get it's like meditation made simpler because there are fewer, if any, distractions. Plus, you're also floating in an Epsom salt bath, like a very, very concentrated Epsom salt bath. So you get the dual physical and mental.
Yep, and walking into a float tank, you can always expect one thing. A float tank's always going to give you something different. So of course, walk in with positive expectations that you're going to have a relaxing time, and maybe the first time isn't, and try it again, maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4. But when you get the hang of it and you can truly relax and take a nap or meditate or just float and be with your thoughts, you walk out feeling like you've had a full night of sleep. That is one thing that I've seen consistent with my floats. Half an hour to 1 hour. I've even done one for, I think, up to 2 hours. Has been like walking like right out of bed in the morning and starting your day. You get this really good kick of energy. So maybe something to try, but we'll have a lot of footage in here of our float tank and how we use it. If you're interested in the company and you're an experienced floater, or if you're just interested in getting in float tanks in general, feel free to drop some comments. We're happy to answer those. I'm probably a little more experienced floater than Jake. Unfortunately, due to a surgery I recently had, I haven't been able to get in the water. That is one thing that sucks about any sort of open cuts. It's so salty in the water that you either have to put a petroleum-based jelly over your cuts to keep the water out, or you just don't go in at all. And that's my current concern is my incision burning up so bad once I get in the float tank.
Yeah, pro tip for guys, don't shave your face the day of a float.
And girls, don't shave anything before your float. You're probably good with a shave the night before and then in the morning go float, but just enough to keep your pores, back to healed and not exposed, because that stuff hurts.
Yeah, I shaved with a straight razor that Nicole got me, and I am still in the learning phase, so sometimes I need 2 days, depending on how badly I cut myself.
Yeah. So I think we've covered all of our recovery tools. The only thing that we can't say much on is like the Normatec Boost, which is the last thing that comes to mind.
Also a Hyperice product. Please sponsor us.
Yeah. I don't have anything to say on those. I've actually never tried any. I think you might have tried one at a race or some sort of event, but
I've tried them once somewhere, I think. They're nice, but I do not have clear enough recollections to recommend them or not.
Yeah. That one might be up to you guys, but maybe in the future we'll be able to let you know on that end. But for now, I think that's all the recovery tools we have. Of course, we'll be talking more in depth about the nutrition side of recovery in future episodes, because that is a whole spectrum to cover. Anything else to add?
No. As always, thank you so much for your time and for watching. And please like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any topic recommendations, please let us know. We're happy to take requests.
Yep. All right, guys. Have a great week.